Hi, and welcome to another episode of Abounding and Alive, a podcast about all things healing. I'm back for part 2 with Celeste Case Rashala, a podcast host, self-discovery coach, author, leads women's groups, just helps women be the best version of themselves after they've lost that. So stay tuned for part 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Abounding and Alive. My name is Becky, and I'm here for another week with Celeste Case Rashala. I had a chat with her last week, so if you haven't watched that, go back and watch part 1 of our conversation. She is a self-discovery coach, an author, a podcast host of her own. Her show is called My Healing is Your Healing, and it is very good, so make sure you go check it out. But I want to bring her back here today so that we can discuss more about her story and what led her to this point in her life. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
back.
welcome back. I'm really excited that we get to do this again.
Me too.
I guess.
And to end the week on a fantastic note.
Yeah, yes, it is Friday. So this episode won't come out for a couple weeks yet, but yeah, it's Friday. It's beautiful out. Can't complain. So the reason I wanted you back is, number one, we had such a great conversation last week. Secondly, I just think your story is so inspiring, and I know that it's going to resonate with a lot of women out there, myself included, my friend included. I did talk to my friend today, and I told her all about you, and she was like, I cannot wait to hear this podcast. Like, yes. So I knew that your story would resonate for a lot of women, not just women our age, but a lot of women going through anything.
I hope so. I mean, it's scary to think that you're going through things alone,
Yeah.
but that's the perception that we have when
Mhm.
that's all that you see because Instagram does not show us the sad sides
Struggling
of life.
folks. Yes.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at everybody else's life or even just wandering around town, you don't see that side until you have
Mhm.
those conversations with people.
And then you find that a lot of people are actually dealing with that, including the people who have really perfect on paper or perfect on socials life. You
Yeah.
find that a lot of them are really going through very similar stories. We had talked last week about you walking down the aisle. Like, this story blows me away. Like, for anybody who is just tuning in for the first time, fill us in again about, kind of what led you to that point and then what happened afterward.
Absolutely. I was 2 weeks before my wedding and I was talking to a colleague at a conference. And basically, he was like, Hey, Celeste, do you ever feel seen? And I was like, wait, what kind of question is this? And it like smacked me like a ton of bricks.
Mhm.
And I started to cry on the Las Vegas trip.
Oh my.
And he's like, Oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, Yeah, I'm fine. I just now don't know if I should get married or not because I don't know who I am. And fast forward 2 weeks later, I've had a few conversations with my fiance. And I felt obligated to walk down the
Yeah, of
aisle because
course.
everybody was coming to my
Mhm.
house. And like you're told from Disney movies by the time you're 3, right? That Prince Charming is going to come whisk you away and you can ride off into the sunset. So I thought I had to have a man in my life.
Mhm.
So I went through the motions of the wedding day and I may have had a little bit too much champagne. And
As
like
one does. Yes.
I had to force myself through it. And that was like the first sign to me that it was just not something that I needed in my life.
Mm.
I made it through the vows, we signed everything. And then I had this massive panic attack in the shower for like 2 hours afterwards. And I was
Wow.
like, no, I have to say yes to me, not to anybody else. And so I decided to pack up and leave and move like 2,000 miles away.
Oh my God. Did you just like not send in the paperwork
We
to
didn't
make
send
it
it in.
legal?
Yeah.
Wow. So basically you just had a ceremony that wasn't legal.
We had a really expensive party.
Right.
And then
Oh
we
my
had to have
goodness.
all of the conversations afterwards with people being like, here's your present back. We're really sorry. We're not married. Thanks.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for coming. And I know this is not a conversation about, the wedding itself, but like what did he do when you told him this?
So beforehand, when I was talking to him about it, he's like, I'll fix everything. Like, I'll do everything right.
Naturally.
Um, and like, I'll go to therapy or I'll do, the things
Mhm.
that are going to show you that you're special. But I don't even think that it was about that anymore. It was just about the fact that I had put this mannequin placeholder in my life because I thought that they were supposed to be there instead of
Mhm.
really enjoying my time, my life.
It's good that you figured it out. It's just, it's sad that you had to get all the way there before it really hit you, you know?
I mean, that's the problem of being on autopilot, though. We live in this
Mhm.
zone of our life, and somebody used this word yesterday. It was not comfort zone. It was, oh, your familiar zone, because it's not
Mhm.
comfortable, but
Right.
it's just familiar.
Yeah.
And until you can break that cycle, because my gosh, before I met him, I was on the floor every single day in tears after like a glass of wine saying, why does nobody love me?
Oh, geez.
And like, why would somebody not or love you if you don't love yourself? That was the
Mhm.
first question I had to go back and ask myself is why
Mhm.
don't you love you?
I don't like we talked about this a little bit last week, but just for whatever reason, as women, yes, we're trained to just status quo, right? To just go with what it's expected of you, to not share your emotions because otherwise you're crazy.
You're too
Um,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like just that like whatever you have to say is not valid anyway, like you're just overreacting or it's your hormones or maybe you're just overwhelmed or whatever, but when in actuality maybe you really are feeling something beyond that,
I mean, all of your feelings are valid. And a lot of the times we're told to silence those feelings. And so we get to a point where we don't cry anymore. Or,
Mhm.
we don't get mad and we don't express our anger. And so it's just all
Mhm.
bottled up and it sucks. That was my panic attack, I think, was just everything that I had ever held in exploding.
I mean, as someone who only recently started getting panic attacks, it's just interesting where they show up and
Oh
why.
my God.
And like how debilitating it can be. I always heard people having panic attacks before, you see on TV, they've got a brown bag and they're like in it. And I'm like, what are we, like, just go about your day. That's so weird. And then, after cancer, I started to panic a little bit. And unbeknownst to me, I had no idea what was happening. I thought I was having heart attacks, but they would just hit me at the most random moments, even when I wasn't feeling stressed out. But I am noticing now more, they're starting to come at nighttime when I've been asleep and then I wake up. It's almost like I'm in this dream state and then this panic sets in. So now I feel really bad for ever judging anyone going through that, right? Because now that I've
Oh my
been through it.
gosh. Yeah, it's never fun. And it's like not pretty either, right? Like mine was just like the amount of makeup that was caked on my face that day and like the fake eyelashes and I don't even know how many bobby pins probably got stuck
Oh
down the
yeah.
drain. Like
Right. My gosh, I can just imagine like your face when you got out because like I did wedding makeup for 10 years for people. So I know how heavy duty waterproof that stuff is. And I can just imagine you sitting there crying and it just like pouring down
oh
your poor
yeah.
little face.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then you moved 2,000 miles away and then what?
So when I lived in Phoenix, I realized that because I didn't know who I was,
Mhm.
all of the other friendships that I had were transactional or like
Mm,
superficial, right? And so when I walked away, I recognized, hey, I don't have any friends. Nobody knows who I am. And so I had to start from scratch when I moved. And I remember this woman who was one of my friends in Phoenix, and she's like, don't leave. And I was like, why? And she goes, your problems will follow you. And I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. I don't have any problems.
right. Yeah. I'm fine. I just called off this wedding for no reason
Yeah,
after because I have zero problems. You're right.
exactly. And so I moved and I'm like, I'm totally fine. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go and find all of these groups and try all of these things that I've never tried before because I used to do Ironmans
Oh wow.
and I wasn't sure if I had chosen Ironmans and triathlon because I was dating him or because it was something I was actually passionate about.
Ooh, interesting.
right? And so I started picking these things off of a list like salsa dancing and Aikido and swing dancing and just like all of this random stuff like acro yoga. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, does Celeste like this? Yes, no. And yeah, it was kind of fun just exploring.
Just to rediscover yourself.
Yeah, be curious and like do the things that you haven't allowed yourself to do in years, like laying out in the grass and watching the clouds, right?
Right. It almost sounds like you were a bit of a chameleon in your younger years.
Oh my
Like
gosh, yeah,
you didn't
people
have your own
pleaser.
story. People just made a story for you and you blended in.
So my parents were professors, and basically I was told you have to get straight A's and
Mm.
go to college and then get a master's and then get a doctorate because everybody in my family had one, right? It was just kind of the rule. And so it was pleasing people to make sure that I was still accepted. And that's what I
Mm.
learned forever.
Like
Yeah.
you just had this really high pedestal to try to get onto, which I mean, kind of, I'm sure looking back, you realize how uh, dangerous that is or how almost toxic that is. And no slight against your family by any means. You know, they
No.
just had high expectations for you. But I think a lot of parents do this to their kids or families or even partners do this to their other partner, that they have this expectation for them and it feels impossible to even reach it, whether that was like modeled behavior, something they saw in their own childhood or whatever. But then it's like the partner can't, or the child can't reach that mountaintop basically, and then it like it's a whole other can of worms, like self-esteem, self-worth. And like you were saying, you were literally laying on the floor crying that no one loved you. Like I wonder if that had anything to do with it, just not feeling good enough.
Oh, absolutely. Like you compare yourself to everyone around you, right? And the funny thing is I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I think that my life is completely normal. Like I'm
Mhm.
just an average human being. And my friend, he likes to nudge me and kind of laugh at me because he's like, Celeste, you are entirely not normal. Like you have a doctorate in clarinet performance. You've run like 4 marathons and 10 Ironmans and like all of this stuff. And he's like, you are not normal. And I'm like, wait, excuse me? And like, so you look at your life and you're like, this is subpar. Like everyone else is better than me.
Mhm. Meanwhile,
Um,
how many people have a doctorate or have run an Ironman? I'm lucky to just drag my butt to the gym once a week, you know?
yeah,
Meanwhile,
like
you've
even one
trained
of
for
those
5 years.
things,
Yes,
right?
exactly. I never finished university. I got pregnant and had children and never finished. So, like, that's the fact that you put yourself through all of that and got a doctorate and then still had time to train and do all the things and find a partner and self-explore and take all these classes. I'm like, girl, how? How do you do it?
Tetris, Tetris
Right.
calendar.
Yes.
But that's how you get burnt out.
Yes.
So
Very, very
it's really
true.
interesting. One of my so I host women's groups.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I did, and I created a book that basically, if you ever want to create one yourself, it walks you through the steps. It gives you like all of these different prompts that you can use. And one of my
Mhm.
favorite ones is redefining success. And the concept is that we bring up at the very beginning is as a child, you sit at the dining room table with your family, and your family basically tells you what success looks like, whether it's money
Mhm.
or, in my case, degrees, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you're like, it gets ingrained in your head from childhood. So those are the things that you aspire to until you either hit the breaking point where you're like, this isn't my life. I can't live like this
Yeah.
anymore. I need something else. Or you start evaluating as time goes on and your values change.
I'm trying to think of what my family might have ingrained in me to what success looks like. I mean, obviously, I graduated in 2004, so it was like all the rage to go to university.
Hmm.
And plus, well, I'm Canadian. I feel like it's not as pushed as it is in America. Like you watch an American high school show, they are pushing for colleges. That's like the thing. I don't
Because
feel
that's what
like
you
it
do.
is, at least not where I am, because it's big into trades and construction and stuff like that here. So I don't like my parents wanted me to go, but I don't feel like they ever put that on me. I don't know what success looked like to them. But I also feel like whatever it was that I was doing wasn't successful. And I also feel like they were looking down on the choices that I was making. Even though it wasn't clear what success was, I still felt like I wasn't good enough for what their expectations were. It was weird.
Those unspoken rules, and you
Yeah.
never feel like you have lived up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember having this conversation once with my dad. In high school, I loved doing hair. I was in cosmetology, would always color my hair. I always had a new hair color. Always, always, always. And I remember saying, right around graduation or a little after, I want to go to hair school. And he was like, set your sights higher. And I was like, okay, I guess I should plan to be something else, and never figured out what that was. And then years later, I remember him saying to me, how come you never became a hairdresser? You're so good at it. And I was like, sir, are you kidding me? And I brought this up, 20 years out of school. And he's like, I never said that. Trust me, you did. And I remember it vividly. And this is why I never went to hair school. But,
It's
looking back, I don't think I would have enjoyed that career. But how do I know unless I had lived it?
exactly. But when we're that old, we don't even know what it is that we want, let alone
Hmm.
like how to function in the world.
Yes.
Um, I can't believe they make us pick right when we're 18 what we want to do for the
It's
rest of our life.
crazy. Okay, so when my girls were actually not even my girls, when my first daughter was born, I needed to go back to work around she was 9-ish months, and I got a nanny from Switzerland, an au pair. And she was telling me that in high school, they don't have it the same that we do. By around grade 9, 10-ish, you basically go into trades. So she had to pick what trade she wanted to do. So she went into, I don't know, like car painting or some weird trade. But she said if you didn't like it, you got to pick a new trade. And then by the time you're finished high school, you actually are certified in this trade. So
What?
I'm like, that makes way more sense than learning, I don't know, like, not that history is not important, uh, but I mean, I don't know that I've really done anything with history knowledge, quite honestly. Even the math, like, yeah, math you use every day, but we kind of
Not
have a phone for it
calculus.
now, right? So, I mean, I think hands-on training probably would have been a heck of a lot more valuable, but what do I know? Now that my kids are high school age, or one of them's high school age, and I'm like, okay, what do you want to do with your life? Okay, you want to go to school? You don't want to go to school? You want to travel? You want to get married? Whatever. What makes you happy? But
And
hopefully,
that's the whole thing,
yeah.
right? Like you don't know what makes you happy
Hmm.
because at least I felt like I didn't know what happiness was supposed to feel like.
Hmm.
It was always chasing that success, and that's what was driving me.
I'm guessing that you probably thought that marriage was that next level of success, like to have a husband and have kids, the white picket fence, the 2.5 children, or whatever they say the average in America is. That's
So I
success.
Yeah, I actually used to wear a fake engagement ring to work when I
Mhm.
was younger because I thought that people would take me more seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, like that there was something wrong with me because I wasn't held by someone else enough to like have me be a long-term asset in their life, right?
Mhm.
And it was crazy that that was even a
Wild.
thought, right?
Yeah. It seems like you had all these like preconceived ideas of who you should be, that you really have to break out of it. And quite honestly, like the cognitive dissonance that surrounds most people and their narrative, like they don't ever get out of that. So the fact that you got out of that matrix is amazing. Because really, like, not a lot of people do. They just keep running in this hamster wheel, whatever it's called, of like still trying to go after the same things, not realizing that they can actually define everything else themselves.
Absolutely. And I feel like for the longest time, you don't recognize that you're stuck in this loop. It's not
Mhm.
Groundhog Day yet
Yes.
because you're coping, you're finding ways that are feeling familiar to you, whether that's wine or scrolling or binge watching television.
Mhm.
And until you have one of those defining moments, like even me crying on the floor and like staring at myself in the eyes, like drunk, being like, okay, tomorrow you're going to be better. It's not
Mhm.
like, I love you, you're great, you can do this. It's you're going to be better, right? That wasn't the catalyst. You have to
Mhm.
find something that's like a rock bottom or like just this silent whisper of, I cannot function like this anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you realize you don't have to be what people expect of you, even what society expects of you, it is very liberating.
Mhm.
But then it's like defining your own story or your own success, your own goals is like a whole other can of worms.
Not only is it painful, but it like forces you to really like jump out of your familiar zone and start
Mhm.
questioning and get curious. And it is not easy to do alone and have the motivation to go do it because actually maybe it is easier that way because then you don't have people around you that are telling you that you need to do something a certain way or hey, this is what you like.
You're right. I mean, sometimes it is nice to have that added support, though. Like, let's say you have a partner who is very supportive of what you do,
Mhm.
then having that boost of confidence from someone who loves you is a little different. But you're right, not having anybody else's expectations to live up to. Like, I have a very supportive husband. He supports all the wild, crazy things that I have planned. Um, but I also still feel like, some days I don't live up to his expectations because I'm not successful or because, like I had cancer and it kind of derailed our plans. And so sometimes, even when you have someone supportive, it's hard to live up to the expectations, even if those expectations are just my own ideas of what he's expecting of me.
They're imagined, yeah.
Yes.
Well, and then you get into the place where, if you change enough, that a lot of the people that were around you before don't like the person that you are now and
Yeah.
fall away.
hmm So I have a former friend who was married, the love of her life. They were just the cutest, sweetest couple you'll ever see. And then she started changing into this very unrecognizable person. He didn't recognize her, her friends didn't recognize her, to the point where it pushed everyone away. And she was upset that people weren't accepting this new version of her. But it's like people know this other version of you. And yeah, I think there is definitely some flexibility and you have to like morph into this, but to have like such a complete change, it does push people away. Now, for her, I don't know what she's up to these days, but I bet she's living her best life with other people that support this new version of her. And that's great. She did what she needed to do. Unfortunately for her friends and husband from her former life, were no longer in the picture.
And so that's interesting, right? Because it's either she did it for the better of her own life or
Mhm.
something happened, right? Where she changed and it wasn't.
Right.
However, if you're changing for the good and you're changing the things in your life that you know are meant for you and like aligned with your core values, the people that are seeing you are seeing the authentic version of you and they probably liked you because you were a people pleaser or doing
Mhm.
something that was validating in their own life. And the reason that they're falling away now is because you're not serving your purpose anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I think when you realize that it, like, well, like you had said, these relationships were transactional. If you're not filling whatever that person needs of you, then why do they need you around, right? So that's why I was shocked when she just up and left all of us because these relationships were not transactional. We just didn't love this new version of her. So, I mean, it is what it is. I value the friendship that we once had. I'm sure her husband values the friend or the relationship they once had, but people move on. And like I said, I hope she's living her best life now with people who understand what she's going through.
Absolutely.
So I know, like, for you, now that you're out of this and you can look back sort of objectively, you lead these women's groups and you have written a book and you host a podcast so that you could help others get out of this matrix, right?
Yeah. So I called it My Healing is Your Healing,
It's a good name.
mostly because, right? It's cool. But mostly because healing is not ever in a vacuum, right?
Mhm.
Like every person that you wind up meeting, I feel like is a mirror to
Mhm.
you. I think we talked about this last time. And so whatever you're seeing in that person across from you, it usually doesn't have anything to do with them and it has
Mhm.
everything to do with you. Whether it's their story that they're sharing and you're taking a piece of it that's meaningful to you or like something that you see in them that is either bothering you, like you're
Mhm.
jealous of it, or like really admire. Those are things you want in your life or things that you want to change in your life. And so they're indications, which I find very fun. And So, in hosting these women's groups and writing the book and doing the podcast, I'm hoping that the stories that I tell and the stories that other women are telling are helping other people heal.
I think for a lot of people, hearing others is healing. Because I've got friends who, will not go see a counselor, therapist, coach, whatever, but do go to their friends just to talk and get it out. And sometimes even just talking and getting it out is helpful. And then sometimes hearing, you're not alone in this. This is how I reacted to the situation when I went through it, is also very healing to them.
Yeah, and there's always something that you can learn by evaluating it in a different way or getting it out of your mouth, and you'll see it from a different light, or at least somebody else will see it from a different perspective and be able to give you some kind of feedback.
So these groups that you host then, are they online? Are they in person?
Right now they're in person,
Hmm.
but I'm really hoping to make it online because I feel like so many women can benefit from it. Each time that I do a group, so each time it's a different topic, and it's a
Oh.
topic from the book usually, or suggestions from people. So we've done like redefining success, unpacking self-worth, the art of gracefully aging.
Hmm.
Um, you name it, we got it.
I
And
like that.
yeah, and like we get to kind of explore like how did you learn this thing? What are you holding right now in this space? Like where did it come from? What did you learn from your childhood? And everybody just kind of shares and talks, and it's incredible.
I bet. And I think lots of people don't realize, like, number one, how different everyone's story is, but also how similar everybody's stories are. It's like such a interesting, I don't know, mosaic of, or even like this juxtaposition of like, it's different, but it is the same for people, right? Like, even if their situations are different, you can still relate to that.
Exactly. Like if you think about it in terms of colors, right? Like we all have the same palette. We all have the
Mhm.
same like red, yellow, green, blue, whatever.
Yes.
Think of them like feelings. Everybody, you might not see the colors exactly the same, just like you might have all of the same feelings that everybody
Mhm.
does and all of the same memories that you've walked through in life. They just maybe colored or felt a little differently, but
Mhm.
we're all humans.
I get this a lot since being sick. People will bring me their problems just because everyone's always just come to me with their problems. And then they go, "Oh, I shouldn't be putting this on you. I know my problems are nothing like what you went through." And then I'm like, it's still trauma. It's completely subjective, right? Like, it has nothing to do with what I went through. If it's something that's affecting you, it's worthwhile. I think people also forget that unless they had like something absolutely horrendous happen to them, they're the small things that are making them feel a certain way, like those are valid and important things to discuss as well.
I absolutely agree. And that's very interesting that people like do like say those that and then have to preface it saying like I know that this isn't a big deal, but
Mhm.
life is challenging, and
Mhm.
we're not handed this like manual on the day that we turn 18 and it's like okay, go to page 53 and learn how to do this, right?
Yeah, right. Like dealing with adversity. Oh, perfect. I'm supposed to do that. Getting married. I'm supposed to do that. Yes.
Yeah, here's all the terrible things you're going to find in online dating, like just
The Tinder chapter. Yes.
and so people treat them like they're not big deals, and
Yeah,
people are afraid
they
to reach
are.
out to their friends and have these
Mhm.
conversations where it's like, I'm hurting and I need somebody to talk to. Please come over.
When I would make dumb choices, I would keep it to myself for fear of judgment from my friends and for fear of just them calling me out on something I already knew was dumb. And so I would hold on to it. And so, even more recently, within this past year, I had a very candid conversation with some of my closest friends about stupid behavior I've had in the past. And they're like, "How have you been holding on to that for all these years?" And I'm like, I didn't want the judgment. Like,
Oh,
I knew you were going to tell me I was dumb. I probably should have heard that I was dumb in that moment, but I didn't want it.
that's the funny thing. And this is something that I bring up in my podcast. So like any one of these concepts, this is your inner critic, right?
Mhm.
And you're really you are never going to have anybody speak as meanly or judge
Mhm.
you as harshly as you do to yourself, right?
Right.
But when you are afraid of speaking it out loud, you're afraid that your thoughts are going to be validated by someone else.
I
Yeah.
know even like in that moment of telling my friends the stupid things I've done, it was like, maybe there was some disappointment there, but they certainly never made me feel bad for it. And in a way, they also like helped me understand like where my head was at to make decisions like that. And instead of just feeling like I was going to be totally attacked by them, I felt very supported. And I really needed that. And maybe it would have been like that years ago if I had just shared. And maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. But it felt really good to get it out in the open. That's for sure.
The one thing that I love about that is in your ability to be vulnerable and authentic, you are allowing other people to go after you
Hmm.
and speak their truth too.
Hmm. It took a lot of years for me to allow people in to that way. I'm not like a super vulnerable person. If I am emotional, well, that's a sign of me being crazy, and I don't like to show that. And why show weakness? It literally took me getting sick and trying to get better emotionally after being sick that I started to allow people in, even my closest friends, like even through being sick, I wasn't letting any of my closest people in, or I wasn't letting anyone do anything to help me or anything. And it finally got to the point it was like, are you a superhero? Like, are you a martyr? What is your problem? Just let these people in who love you and care about you. And I'm very, very blessed that my friend group does want to be around and is very forgiving or, very easygoing. Because I know a lot of people don't get that sort of same
Mhm.
friendship. Like you were saying, you felt like you didn't even have friends in some of your hardest moments. And I can't even imagine how that would have felt.
It's so special when you have a group of people who are there to support you, though, and that's amazing that you have
Hmm.
that. And, you made me think that it has everything to do with self-love. Like
Hmm.
it took me 35 years to get to this place where I don't really care if people see me in a bad light anymore.
Yeah.
As long as I love myself and I love the things that I'm doing and being, I don't care if I'm walking into the store with sweatpants that have mud all over them and Crocs and whatever. Like
Right.
this is me. No, no shame.
I have tried to go out lately. So I had a mastectomy 2 years ago, and so I have one boob. And obviously, that's weird. If you saw somebody out with one boob, that's weird. But I'm like, I try to just like sometimes go without a prosthetic. I just like wear a hoodie, and I'm like, well, if they judge me, what are they going to judge? Oh, you had cancer, gross, right? Like, so I'm trying to just get out of my head on these things. That number one, like, well, to be honest, most people just don't care about anything. Number two, I don't care. Like I know what I went through. I know my story. I know my truth, and I really don't care what others are thinking.
Well, and it also allows you to see the people that are accepting of you too,
Hmm.
because they're not going to see that. They're just going to see the person that you are.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, it is hard though because again, we are in conditioned from a very young age to be the perfect version of ourselves, to put our best foot forward. And don't get me wrong, I think you should to an extent, but it's like to live up to that insanely high imaginary standard, why? If it means like you never go out in sweatpants even though you feel comfortable in sweatpants, like what, why? I
That's
don't
a
know.
good question. I don't know.
I know a lot of the older generations are like that. You get dressed up to go on a plane, to go to church, to go out. My dad, if he sees anyone in stretchy pants, sweatpants, pajamas, he is like, what is with these people? It's so stupid. Like I've never seen him out in anything like that. Not obviously he doesn't have stretchy pants, but you know what I'm saying? Like I see him in jeans and I see him in shorts, and that is it. And if we're out somewhere together and he sees someone in pajamas, like he's about to have a heart attack watching this person. And like to an extent, I understand because culturally, that's what they know. But on the other side, like, who cares? If this kid went out from his basement, he's coming out for snacks at 7-Eleven, like, literally, who cares? I don't know. That's where I'm at these days. Like, you don't need to judge somebody for something that they did or look like or what they're wearing or anything because literally, just like, who cares? They're just living their own life.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me how many people are out there just living their life. And you
Mhm.
don't know if they're going through the familiar zone. You don't know if they're working on themselves. You don't know what's going on in their life. And you just kind of have to have the grace that you have with yourself on any given day with
Mhm.
everybody else.
I know when I was bald, I had just first shaved my hair. It had started falling out, after my first round of chemo. And I was like, I'm going to make myself go out bald because this is who I am. And like, it's okay. And I had wigs, like, I had lots of wigs, but I was like, no, I'm going to go out bald. I went to the grocery store. Well, sure enough, I ran into somebody the second I get in there. And it was someone I knew very, very well. And he just like started crying right there. And I was like, okay, this is not the reaction I want people to have. And then I went to the post office and there was a man in the lineup and he just looks at me and he's like giving me this face. I'm like, yes. It's like cancer. I was like, yes, cancer. But like, how did he know? I could have just been someone who shaved their head. Like I didn't look sick otherwise.
Yeah.
Cancer. But it was like I didn't want people to know that about me because I didn't want them to elicit any sort of feelings that I wasn't even feeling. Like I didn't need somebody to feel bad for me. Yeah, it took a lot to go out looking the way that I did, at home, right? In my giant house coat and my bald head, my no eyebrows, like that. It was hard, but I did do it because I thought, who cares?
I will say one of the biggest books that helped me this last year was The Let Them Theory.
Yeah, Mel Robbins,
Hmm.
so good.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's really kind of an indication there before the book was even out, right? If just letting people do what they're going to do, but also letting yourself be the person that you're going to be and
Mhm.
having peace. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great book. If anyone needs some motivation, go read that one for sure. But where can people find your book?
Oh, yes, it's on Amazon. So the first one is called In Search of Us. That is about creating women's circles, but
Mm,
even just more so, it is about connecting either with yourself, or you can use it to talk to your family or even a stranger if you want to.
mhm,
Just connection. And then the next one that's coming out in November is called Becoming the Radiant Woman. And it really talks about how we as women have dimmed our light
mhm,
and exactly all the things we talked about before, people pleasing and wanting to be validated and seeking achievement and the script that the world has for us. And it kind of walks you
mhm.
through how to remember the person that you were before the world handed you all of that.
It would be fantastic to learn those things. Like I feel fortunate, but also like it was kind of crappy that I had to go through these things because I was sick, right? Because I was fighting for my life. And then it was like, well, I don't want to live the way that I was living. So like now I'm reframing everything in my life or redefining everything. So in a sense, fortunate. But it would be nice to just be able to figure those things out by reading a book and like joining a group. That would be way cooler.
That's kind of the hope, though. Like, if one person hears it and they think of a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, Sarah would love this. I need to give it to her. Or maybe she doesn't even know that
Mhm.
she needs it, but it opens a door.
Mhm.
That's my hope.
Well, like I said, after our first conversation, I was like, I know exactly who this is going to speak to. And I'm excited to share our two episodes and all of your episodes in your book because she's all about that self help, all about like, I need to not dim my light anymore. I need to live authentically. Because, like I said, for many, many, many years, she was not who she was. And I
Mhm.
would, visit her after not seeing her for a few months and I'm like, who are you? Like I don't even recognize you. And vice versa, people would say that about me too when I was in my first marriage. Like you weren't yourself, we didn't even recognize you, you didn't look the same, you didn't act the same, you weren't vibrant. And it's like, no knocking my husband or how it was, it's just unfortunately sometimes people lose themselves and sometimes you need a big kick in the butt to figure out where you need to find that light again.
I 100% agree. And sometimes I feel like that it's over these very small changes every single day, and maybe you don't even see it in the mirror until you get to a point where everyone's pointing fingers and they're like, "Who are you anymore?"
Mhm.
And then that's where the universe starts to come in, I feel like, at
Mm.
least, where it's like,
Yes.
"Hey, hey." You're not okay. Like, let's just fix this one thing. And then if you don't listen to it, it like shoves you.
Don't I know that? And then, one thing I'm really trying to work on is like, I had the big universe shove, right? And it was like me falling back into old habits. And then I'm like, what are you doing? You have this second chance to redo everything, like to redefine, to live better. And so, every day is an ongoing battle. I try not to beat myself up about anything, but
Mhm.
yeah, just being able to see what I want out of life now, because I had no idea. And the other thing too, a side note, like part of being sick also is that, at least for me, is that a lot of my joy was sucked out of me. And it was like, how do I know what success looks like? I just want to be alive. Like, I don't know. And then after I was better, then it was like, well, I went through this. Like, what joy do I have? But, to step out of that and to realize that there is so much to be joyful for, so much success out there, personal success. Like, success for me is that I'm alive, that I beat cancer. Like, that's a huge one for me. And so maybe I don't have a doctorate, maybe I'm not in the body that I once had, but like, man, I'm alive. So,
It's all in the mindset, you
yes.
know. You can be very grouchy about your day because,
Mhm.
this, that, and the other thing happened, or you can
Mhm.
be really joyful that you're alive or your coffee was warm or, your dog
Yeah,
recognizes you, right? It's just
exactly.
all the little things. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where hearing other people's stories, I think, really comes into play, because not saying you want to know somebody whose story is worse than yours, but certainly it makes you appreciate what you have when you hear about somebody else who's gone through some stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love everything that you're doing. I think it's so amazing. You are very inspiring, and I think really everything that you are talking about can resonate with so many women.
Thank you.
So where can people find you? I know on Amazon you told your books, but where else can they find you?
So my website is myhealingisyourhealing.com. You can find me on Instagram, My Healing Your Healing. It's got a bunch of cutesy little videos and little carousels of things you can read. And then the podcast is My Healing is Your Healing. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Perfect. And what kind of guests do you have on there, by the way?
Originally, it was women that had stories to share.
Mhm.
So I've talked to some women who have gone through some very big things. And now I'm starting to get some more like off-brand therapy, like somatic healing and
Mm.
like psychedelics. And I
Mm.
had somebody do like the womb love. So like she does embodied dancing. So it's just very
Interesting.
unique. Yeah. So I'm hoping in the future when I do this online that I can do workshops and panels that bring in different types of women to have different
Mm.
types of conversations.
That's very cool. I think
Yeah.
you and I have a very similar vision for like our show. It's like if you help somebody, I want to know. It might not be what I would do to heal. Like, I don't think I'm diving into psychedelics anytime soon, but I like, who am I to knock it if it works for somebody, right?
Yeah.
So
And
I had interviewed a nurse who had a GLP-1 clinic, so Ozempic clinic. And again, not for me. I don't think it's super healthy, but she's transforming lives for the people who do need it. And who am I to knock that?
that's the thing that, especially when I started going through this whole transition, is I bought probably 100 different books and I
Hmm.
listened to like 1,000 different podcasts and all the workbooks and stuff. And you just kind of have to pick and choose what works for you until
Mhm.
you hear the thing or find the thing that really resonates with you and you're like, yes. So you never know what it's going to be until you find it.
Last week, well, it just came out yesterday, but my guest, she's a fitness instructor and an early childhood educator. And so she's taken her knowledge to do like movement healing for people, breath work, Pilates. Like, you would never think a child needs Pilates and breathing to get better. And yet she's having major success. So it's really quite interesting, like what things people resonate with and what can help them heal.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for the work you do. And thank you for being here again for our part two. I am so appreciative of your heart for what you're doing.
Thanks for such a great conversation. I love having these types of conversations with women.
Me too. It's awesome. Thanks, Celeste. I love her. I know I say this every show. I'm so inspired. This is what my show is all about, people helping others. And, I'm like, I'll flat out say it. Like, I think everyone could use help. We've all been through stuff, trauma, big T trauma, little T trauma, whatever it is. We could all use somebody to talk to, someone to support us, someone to love us through it. I don't know. I think sometimes women are kind of a forgotten demographic. So please check out her show, My Healing is Your Healing, on all of everywhere, anywhere that you can find podcasts. And of course, on her website, myhealingisyourhealing.com. Instagram, My Healing, Your Healing. So thanks again to Celeste, and be back with us next week. I am interviewing, this is exciting. So I'm considering going on a missions trip to Uganda in the spring, well, the winter, spring. And I'm going to interview the lady who runs it. She has a ministry called Love Made Away Ministries. And I'm very, very excited to talk with her about how she's helping people, her heart for the people of Uganda, how she, goes back and forth all the time there. So I'm very, very thrilled to have her on my show. So stay tuned next week for my interview with Kira. Bye, everybody.